Hello, it's Cassandra and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this super easy beginner-friendly balloon sleeve sweater. It's elegant, it's breathable, it's comfortable, you're gonna love it. But before we get into the tutorial, there are two things you need to know. One, the written pattern for this design is linked down below. It comes with measurement guides, diagrams, and very in-depth instructions. The second thing you need to know is that if crochet athleisure is your thing, then I highly recommend you subscribe because that is my thing and I love to show you guys the new designs I come up with. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. For supplies, you're gonna need some yarn. I chose to use a lightweight blend of alpaca and silk yarn, but you can truly use anything, it'll still look nice. I'm also using two hook sizes, one 6mm and another 4mm. You're also gonna need a measuring tape, something to use as stitch markers. I'm using bobby pins, scissors, and a tapestry needle. And if you choose to do the bows, you're gonna need some ribbon and a lighter. Before you start, you're going to need to take measurements. The instructions for the measurement calculation so the sweater fits you perfectly can be found down below in the written pattern. We're going to start off by making a slip knot. So grabbing the end of your yarn, you're going to make 2 loops around your fingers. Now take your 4mm hook, place it underneath the first loop, and grab that second loop and pull it through the hole. Now just pull your yarn, and this is your slip knot. We're gonna start off by chaining 7 inches. So yarn over your hook, pull through the loop, that's 1 chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2 chains. And we're just gonna continue doing this until we have 7 inches. To measure, make sure you just lie your yarn flat. Don't stretch it, that will mess up your measurements. Write down how many chains you made to create the 7 inches. This is super important. Now you're going to take your 6mm hook and you're going to chain the length of measurement A. Once I completed crocheting measurement A, I'm going to take my 4mm hook and I'm gonna continue by making the same amount of chains I made earlier to create those first 7 inches. And also, I'm gonna mark the first chain I made with my 4mm hook with a stitch marker. Once you complete the 7 inches, you're going to create 1 extra chain. This is going to be your turning chain. So now we're going to start making our way back. Skip that turning chain we made and we're going to single crochet into that second chain. So sticking our hook through the loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're going to continue making single crochets until you reach this stitch marker that's marking your end of the 7 inches. I have 1 more single crochet to go, so I'm going to stick my hook through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to remove this stitch marker and I'm going to use it to mark this last single crochet. Now I'm going to remove my 4mm hook and grab my 6mm hook and I'm going to continue crocheting all the way until my next stitch marker with double crochets. So to do a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, you're going to go through the loop, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all of them. And you're going to continue doing that all the way until your next stitch marker. Once I reach the stitch marker, I'm going to remove it and switch back to my 4mm hook and continue with single crocheting until the end of the row. So now that I've completed the row, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Skip the chain 1 and single crochet in the back loop only with your 4mm hook until you reach the stitch marker. Mark your last single crochet with a stitch marker and switch back to your 6mm hook. Double crochet into the full stitch until you reach the next stitch marker. Once you reach the stitch marker, remove it and switch back to your 4mm hook. Single crochet in the back loop only until the end of the row. Remember to always keep a stitch marker at your 7 inches mark. Once you reach the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. Now we are going to repeat row 2 until the front of our sweater is the length of measurement B. Once the front of your sweater is the length of measurement B, you are going to grab some stitch markers. The calculations and diagrams for this next step can be found in the written pattern linked down below. You're going to fold your sweater in half vertically and mark the halfway point with a stitch marker. Now you're going to take your measurement C calculation and mark that with a stitch marker. Count the number of chains between the halfway point and your measurement C calculation and mark the same amount of chains on the other side of the halfway point. Once you've marked both sides, you can remove the halfway point stitch marker. Just like we did earlier, we're going to skip the chain 1 and single crochet with our 4mm hook in the back loop only until we reach the stitch marker marking the 7 inches mark. I'm going to move the bobby pin into that last single crochet I did. And I'm going to switch out my hook for the 6mm one. And now I am going to double crochet all the way until I reach this stitch marker. Your last double crochet is going to be the stitch before your stitch marker. So this is my last double crochet. Count the total number of chains between your 2 measurement C stitch markers and chain the same amount of stitches. For example, I have 30 stitches between my 2 stitch markers, so I am going to make a chain of 30. Once you complete your chain, you are going to double crochet into the stitch beside the second stitch marker. Continue double crocheting with your 6mm hook until you reach the stitch marker marking the 7 inches mark. Once you reach the stitch marker, switch back to your 4mm hook and single crochet in the back loop only until the end of the row. Remember to keep a bobby pin at your first single crochet stitch to mark the 7 inches mark. Once you reach the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. Just like we did earlier, we're going to skip the chain 1 and single crochet with our 4mm hook in the back loop only until we reach the stitch marker marking the 7 inches mark. Switch to your 6mm hook and double crochet into the full stitch until you reach the next stitch marker marking the 7 inches mark. So I've reached the 30 chains that I've made. So all we're going to do is continue our double crochets into these chains. So you'll see 3 strands of yarn. You're going to go in between the last one and the middle one. And we're just going to continue crocheting into each chain. Once you reach the stitch marker, switch back to your 4mm hook and single crochet in the back loop only until the end of the row. Once you reach the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. Now you are going to repeat row 2 until the back of your sweater has the same amount of rows as the front of your sweater. Once you have an equal amount of rows in both the front and back of your sweater, give yourself a pat on the back for completing the crochet portion of this project. Now we're going to fold our sweater in half horizontally. Now fold your panel in half vertically. And make sure your neckline is lined up perfectly. Mark measurement D with a stitch marker on each side of your vertical fold. Calculations for measurement D can be found in the written pattern linked down below in the description. Count 25 stitches from the end of your wrist cuff and mark the 25th stitch. Use your tapestry needle to sew together the edges from your 25th stitch to the stitch marker marking measurement D and repeat on both sides. So where I did my last single crochet, I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and make sure that's all secure. To sew together your edges, you're going to use a tapestry needle to pull through a long strand of yarn. Make sure to leave a little tail of yarn at the end. You don't want to pull the whole strand through, and alternate. Go from the left side to the right side of your sweater and secure the end with a knot. I am at the last stitch that I need to sew, right where the bobby pin is. And I'm gonna go through that last stitch again. Right where this loop is, I'm just going to secure it in place. And now I'm just gonna take my end and weave it in. To create our bows, we're going to cut a 30-inch strand of ribbon. I folded my edges in half and used a pair of scissors to cut it at an angle just to create a nicer edge. Use a lighter to lightly burn the edges to prevent fraying. Attach a safety pin to one end of the ribbon and weave it through every other row at your wrist cuff. Tie a bow to securely cinch your wrist cuff. Congratulations! Your balloon sleeve sweater is complete. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to give it a like and feel free to check out my other beginner-friendly crochet tutorials linked in the description down below. I had so much fun spending time with you today and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye!